Welcome everybody to the Survivor Bros podcast. I'm Brennan, joined as always by my brother Tanner, and we just got done watching the seventh episode of Survivor 43. Tanner, how are you doing, and what did you think of this episode of Survivor?
I'm doing pretty good, Brennan. I think this was another solid episode. This season is really good so far, as we've mentioned a few times before. We're finally past our first official merge episode, but unfortunately not our first jury episode,
Oh
which was
man, what a shame.
something that definitely just surprised me, and I wasn't exactly happy with. I definitely feel for Dwight, especially as a super fan. This episode was a great episode, unless you're Dwight or Janine, who also got completely screwed over. And honestly, I don't think this was a great episode for production either. We'll talk about the twists that they threw in, but this it kind of reminded me a little bit of Island of the Idols when they handed Jamal that advantage and then said there's no free lunches on Survivor. It was just forcing too much, I think, on their part, and they really need to just let this cast shine more because this cast is doing a great job of delivering great gameplay, personality, and not just overall good television for us. So yeah, it's a good episode. I think there were some flaws, but we'll talk about it.
Definitely, and I think the key word there is forced. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, the cast is already great. They're already playing hard. We're already getting really entertaining stuff. I don't know why they feel the need to force an advantage, especially knowledge is power, which hasn't been working.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really, really want to see this work out, and I think it would be a cool little moment, but I really don't see it happening. I don't think the knowledge is power is ever going to work out in Survivor.
Yeah, to be completely honest, I think the moment that we got with Xander and Liana in season 41 was the best that we're ever going to get out of the Knowledge is Power.
Definitely.
And it was something that I think definitely went against the producers' expectations that time as well. And since then, they've really been trying to get a successful play of that advantage, but it just doesn't work. It's not something that the fans like, and it's something that really messes with the players' heads. It birthed some interesting strategy tonight with the shuffling around of advantages, but overall, I think whenever a player knows that someone has that, it's kind of a death sentence for that player because really nobody wants their advantage to be stolen. So they're going to do whatever they can to sort of flush that out. And I think James got kind of lucky tonight. Actually, not luck because he's playing a great game, but it could have really torn his game apart, honestly. And I'm glad that we didn't see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure he's completely out of the woods yet because
Mm-hmm.
obviously he still has it. Um, but it could help that um, Dwight went home with Janine's idol, which
Yeah.
is just another one of those things where Janine just cannot catch a break this entire season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
over and over again. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like she's Squidward in one of those episodes of SpongeBob where it's just like she's getting beaten up over and over again for no reason. It
Yeah,
started
she
with
had
the chin. It's just gonna
a
keep going.
Yeah, the chin was the first scrape on her, and it's just been getting beaten up from there. She had a good confessional at the beginning of the episode where she said she just wanted to cry, and then the camera just stayed on her for a few
Yeah, it was
seconds.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I feel really bad for her. We saw how she was reaching back at Tribal as the votes were getting read, but I think clarified in an article after the episode aired that once the votes start getting read, that's it. You're completely out of the game, and any advantages you had are gone with you. So,
yeah.
Dwight said, I got you, but he didn't have her advantage for
He-
her. So it was just really unfortunate because she thought that she was making an extra precautionary move in order to prevent herself from losing the idol, but she ended up manifesting her worst fear by doing that.
yeah, yeah. And I thought Dwight. Let's talk a little bit about Dwight here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Dwight had actually, finally started to get a little bit of a foothold in the game. He had that conversation with Owen early on, and they seemed to have a buck of SE6 there, but it just didn't work out. What do you think happened with Dwight?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as I was talking about last time, Dwight was kind of feeding the flames for the Ellie boot, and it seemed like he had worked himself in with the remaining Baka members to the point where I thought that Baka and Vessi were really close. We saw Noelle giving her advantage to Owen, and obviously Janine gave her idol to Dwight. So that's two cross tribal things going on right there. But I guess Jesse and Cody just got big move-itis. I'm not sure if this was the best move for them, even though I do love Jesse. I think this put him into the spotlight a little bit too much going forward. Um, Noelle may have been calling the shots a little bit, but to me, it didn't seem like she was really separating herself that much of it as a threat in order to be such an immediate target. And then Cody targeting Dwight was just completely out of left field for me. I think maybe next episode we'll get a better explanation from Cody on that because we didn't hear much from Cody tonight. But that was very strange. I'd like to see. I'd like to hear why he did that because I'm really honestly not sure.
Yeah, I mean, you would almost think that Dwight was a salesperson the way that Cody was going after him.
I know, seriously.
But I think the reason that Jesse and Cody really wanted to go after Dwight and Noelle was just because they saw them as really close, and they weren't completely sure that they would stick with them. Maybe um, if they would separate with Baca or they would go with Coco and leave Jesse and Cody hung out to dry. But yeah, not completely sure. It could have been a little early for this move. Especially
and I mean, Jesse had a really good confessional going into Tribal about how this game is all about timing. And I think production could be kind of telling us maybe he wasn't 100% correct with the timing here.
It could be, because there really was no indication from Noelle or Dwight that they were going to go away from Jesse or Cody or that they weren't loyal or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, Dwight even, after he got voted out, he said, I'm sure someone from Bessie flipped on me and I'm not sure who it was, but that stings. So it seemed like he was really devoted to playing with that group. And I had thought that foursome could be, kind of like the I-2-4 of the season. Like they could have really made it to the end together. I thought they had that solid relationship going. I thought they'd healed from their issues, but, I guess it's a game of big moves and Jesse really wanted to make one. So we'll see if that makes Jesse and Cody a target, but they are still a good duo right now, and I still really love both of them. So, I hope it fares well for them, but I'm just not sure.
Definitely. And I thought Jesse really had a great point that I haven't heard many survivors talk about before. But he said he wanted to go along with Cody's plan and give him some agency, make him feel like he's controlling the game. And I thought that's just so smart, such a great idea. Because if you have someone who's thinking that they're calling the shots, and first of all, they're a bigger target than you. Second of all, they're going to keep you around because they think you're just their loyal follower.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone was like a real salesperson tonight, it was Jesse. I think he sold that to Cody really well because it's kind of a known psychological fact that people are more likely to agree to something if they think that they're the one who comes up with it. So giving Cody agency is definitely a good idea. I don't think that's something we've heard many survivors talk about, but it's a strategy that I think makes perfect sense. And I mean, if I were on the show, I would try to do that too.
Absolutely. It's almost kind of like the meat shields thing. Not quite, but keeping someone in front of you who at least thinks they're calling the shots, I think is definitely something I would do.
Yeah, and I think that Cody is someone who could also function as a meat shield, like you said, because people know that he's a social threat, and I guess people know that
physical threat too.
Yeah, too. Also physical threat. I mean, he lasted really long in that challenge, and we'll talk about how brutal that challenge was today. Yeah. But people also know about his idol, but they don't seem to know about Carla's idol, which kind of confuses me.
They do not.
I'm very confused by that.
I mean, she just hasn't. Yeah, I guess they just haven't been talking about the beads or something. I don't. You would think because after Ellie found out that after Noelle accidentally told her, you would think that would kind of get around a little bit. So I don't know. I guess it just hasn't come up. But Carla, man, wow, she is continuing to play great. I mean, no one's talking about her at all. It's like she's the least threatening of the Coco people almost. Besides maybe Cassidy. There's no one's talking about her, and yet she seems to hold all the power right now.
Yeah, I think Carla is playing kind of a Sareea-esque game right now, where she's making herself look much smaller than, her actual threat level is. She's playing a fantastic social game. We didn't see her get talked about much tonight, but we did see really positive SPV from Jesse when he said that Carla reminded him of his family a lot, and they had similar experiences. Like they just met. This is Carla enacting a
Hmm.
social game with another person, and she still has solid connections with James and I assume Cassidy. And she's playing the whole board right now. She's doing it amazingly.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's talk about this challenge.
Yeah,
I loved this challenge. I love the idea of having to separate yourself into duos. Like everyone's like, no one, Owen's like, no one even wants to finalize the methodology in which we're doing it.
I
No,
thought it was funny how they got their tree mail and they thought they were gonna be just painting the tribe flag and stuff. And actually, they used the paint to make the rocks that they ended
yeah,
up drawing. I thought that was
mhm,
funny.
definitely, definitely. I had a strong feeling it was gonna end up somewhere like that where they just do some random thing. But I
Yeah.
was hoping, I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping someone would be like, yeah, I'll take Ryan. Give me Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was a nice twist on production's part, I think. So much better than the bottle thing that we saw. We'll talk about that after the challenge. But yeah, I think this was a nice way to not necessarily force the social game, but kind of add in a little twist in there, a little bit of nuance.
Definitely. It's always great to throw a little bit of a wrench into what
Mm-hmm.
people are expecting. Not too much where it completely alters everything though. Um, and another reason I liked the duos thing, we had a great moment with um, Noel and
Mm-hmm.
Sammy, I think. Um, where because the whole thing is when you're competing by yourself, sure you get upset when you lose and maybe you're mad at yourself, but when you are the reason that your team lost, you really feel like you let them down, and that's just such a horrible feeling. I mean, I know certainly from like playing baseball, whenever I mean I wouldn't get pissed at myself for like making a mistake as much as I would just be feel bad that I let everyone down. And we had a great moment where Noah's like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," and Sammy's like, "Oh no, dude, are you kidding? Don't even stop." And I
Yeah.
just thought it was a really heartfelt moment. Not the first heartfelt moment in this challenge. Another reason why this challenge
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah, Noelle, she's just such a competitor. I could really tell that that affected her a lot because she's been doing so well so far in the challenges, and that one was just brutal for her. I mean, as soon as I saw Jeff explaining the challenge, I was like, man, how's Noelle going to do this? But I'm glad that everyone was supportive of her. We had that moment where they were all helping her out of it at the end. And I think Jeff
Hmm.
kind of forced a little bit of an emotional moment right there, but it wasn't too egregious. It was pretty nice, and I ended up being like, oh, that's sweet. And then, of course, we had Gabler's moment at the end.
I love
That
that.
actually, yeah, that was a huge pivotal moment, for my opinion, of Gabler. He absolutely started to win me over with that. Talking about veterans and how much they inspire him. I feel the same way. Everyone who serves in the military is like, I think they're the absolute best and the most inspiring people ever. And they get so mistreated in this country sometimes. I think what Gabler said to raise awareness about that is so important, especially talking about PTSD. That's still a problem that needs to get addressed a lot more. And just bringing that to a more mainstream audience through Survivor, I think was really important.
Definitely, I think we should dedicate this next minute of the podcast to
Yeah.
PTSD. But really, I mean, Gable, he really does make a great point there. I mean, he's like, what, a heart valve something
Specialist,
surgeon.
yeah.
Yeah. So he's talking about, like, when he's saying, like, yeah, it's in the operating room and things go wrong, and you have a patient lying on the table who's someone's grandfather, someone's son, someone's brother. And, I think you don't really think of PTSD like the doctors who work on that and see bad things like death like that happen. You don't hear about that a lot, but I gotta imagine. I mean, you that must be really tough when you're seeing stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, it must be. And I think everything Gabler said tonight not only humanized him, but made me realize how much experience he has just as a human being and all the people he's met and the things he's seen and how it's affected him. It definitely made me think a lot higher of Gabler. I see him more of as a person now, less of a player. So That's always nice.
Definitely,
And it
definitely
was
one of
nice that
those.
he saved himself with immunity tonight. That was really cool. And that was completely unexpected, I think. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it had to do with that strategy that he employed.
Hmm.
The every minute dedicate it to something that you love, something that you want to win the comp for, and it allows you to kind of refresh your mind every minute. Say, okay, I just have one more minute to go. Then, okay,
Yeah.
I just need to make it through this one more minute.
Hmm.
It kind of reminded me of almost Christian versus Alec. You remember that
I was gonna
competition?
say the same thing. It definitely reminded me of that. Just giving Christian that passion to talk about stuff that he loves and stuff that he's done, and it made him feel just. I think it's just good, and even with in Gabler's case, it was more inspiring for him because there was more emotional stories and stories about perseverance and rebuilding and all of that. I think that definitely made the difference and helped him push through that.
Definitely. And obviously, we talked about after the challenge where they had the flashback. We haven't seen very many flashbacks recently. I thought this was a really great one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, humanized Gabler. I think it was definitely one of those, don't judge a book by its cover type things where, you have this kind of goofy character where you
Hmm.
don't really expect a lot from, but deep down, he's a real person, got a lot of emotional things, and I think it was definitely a great moment for Gabler, and like you said, I think I'm starting to come around on Gabler a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Gabler's chances in the game strategically right now? Because I still think that, he didn't necessarily have the best time at the fake merge, even though he ultimately did get his way. He still, I think even after this immunity win, he could be seen as more of a threat, and people could also start, humanizing him like we have and also taking him more seriously as a strategic threat. Um, but he could very well go far.
Definitely, the Alligabler will resurface, I'm sure.
Yeah, just
Uh,
like Jaws.
oh man, talk about forcing things from production. Jeez,
Yeah.
it's getting really hard to watch some of this stuff at Tribal Council. First he's literally like, "Okay, Cody, give me a surfing analogy," and then Cody just the most random, yeah, pulls something out of nowhere, and then
Yeah, at
just
least
like,
Cody was able to give him something. I mean, that was just such a random request. It was like, come on, Jeff. I was cringing so hard at that point.
I mean, we already get enough analogies as it is. You don't need to ask people for it all the time. And then when they
I
give
know.
you a surfing one, say, "No, well, actually, I think it's like Jaws." Like,
Yeah, and then he started like singing the theme song. That was so
uh,
weird. Oh
yeah,
man. Jeff is just getting a little bit old and crazy now, I think. No offense if you're watching this, Jeff, but honestly, I mean, come on, dude.
yeah,
Um, But speaking of
yeah.
good metaphors, Owen had the episode title again with Bull in a China shop talking about Gabler. Owen's been using a lot of kind of funny metaphors, talking about the Grand Canyon that is the crack in the Baka Alliance.
Who could somehow continues to stick together. It looks like I think they all voted together, except for
Well, okay,
Sammy.
yeah. So Sammy was in on the plan to vote out Dwight, but I'm not sure if the others were or not because they voted for Ryan. But that
I
could have just
think
been a backup in case he played the idol.
that's what I think it was a backup. I think that's what it was. I think they knew about it.
Okay, so you think essentially everyone except for Janine actually and Noel and Dwight was blindsided.
That's what I would think. Yeah,
Man, what a rough time for Janine. She's
like
got
you
a lot of
said, just
work to
continuing to
do.
get beat down.
Yeah.
But I think that Baka. I mean, especially since Janine doesn't have her idol anymore. I think she's gonna really like go under the radar. I think that Baka could continue to stay together. And Owen, yeah, I really like Owen so far. The analogies, but I think he's in a great position so far too. I mean, he still seems close with Sammy. He was with Dwight. He was going across those tribal lines. Um, Owen, I think is in a good position so far, and he's been looking really good.
Yeah, I think overall this episode benefited the people on Coco the most, but it wasn't nearly as bad for Baka. And Sammy, I think, is still in a great position. Sammy, of course, as we've said, is playing an amazing game. He was a little more under the radar tonight, but not making any waves. And I think he's still in a good spot. We saw in the preview that he said he's setting himself up to win this game. I don't know if that's a bad omen or not, but so
It could be
far,
a winner quote. It could be a
it
winner
could
quote.
be. He's had some winter type confessionals for sure.
I've said it. Him and Owen, I think, have gotten some solid winner moments.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a group of front runners right now, I'd say Sammy, Owen, Jesse, Cody, and Carla, and James actually. And then Cassidy's kind of a dark horse, like Erica.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that if Cassidy had she won, they would given her more screen time. That's what I want to believe.
Yeah. But I mean, she was still there, and she had a few big episodes, and then she kind of disappeared a little bit again.
Yeah,
she could very easily pop out back, and she could be even big. I mean, she could have like the Natalie Portman edit, completely invisible, and then suddenly she's just everywhere, crazy over the top personality. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, definitely they could, and like Cassidy, like besides the edit, there hasn't been anything to tell me that she can't win. I think she's playing just as good a game as anybody. So
yeah, I think everyone on Coco except for Ryan, who seems to be a little bit lost right now, just stomping on crabs. I think everyone on Coco besides him
stomping on crabs.
Yeah. Oh man, what do you think Ryan is thinking right now, strategically? He did vote Dwight, right?
I'm not. I think he did. So I think in his mind he's back in with Coco. I'm not sure how everyone else feels about that, but I think he thinks that he's fine, honestly, because he hasn't said anything to make me think he's worried. Like, I'm sure at Tribal Council, I don't know if he did, but I'm sure he said like, "Oh yeah, I'm 9. I'm confident, 9 out of 10." Like everyone else, pretty much somehow.
Yeah, and that's such a weird question to ask because everyone's just gonna say the same type. Either they're gonna say they're not confident at all, or they're gonna just. I guess Sammy had the kind of realist answer when he said, I'm just nervous and I have no idea what's going on. But everyone's either just gonna say like 8 or 9 or 1 if they're completely out of it. That's just
I don't know how, because if I was there, even if I like had a solid plan, I would still be really nervous.
Exactly. Yeah. People just want to like save face.
Well, I think most of it is like we talked about before. People giving nothing answers at Tribal Council.
Yeah.
I think it's just you want to act like you're confident, so the people you're working with are confident too, and they believe in the plan. I think that's all it is.
Honestly, I'm starting to miss the live tribals. I mean, I know a lot of people hate those, but it's better at least than the nothing answers that we keep getting. I mean, lately I feel like Tribal Council, the actual discussion part, has been my least favorite part of the episode, whereas it used to be the part that I was looking forward to the most. I think recently the challenges have gotten a lot more interesting, and the editing around camp life and stuff has gotten a lot better and a lot more interesting. So the tribal has kind of fallen to the wayside of it, and like you said, people are just giving nothing answers. So it's kind of just like 5 minutes of screen time that doesn't really mean anything for anyone except for Jeff getting his weird little cringy jokes in.
Yeah, and it goes to back we were talking about last episode or the episode before, people just being too smart for the game, not wanting to give any sort of position up or anything like that, any information up at Tribal Council at all.
Yeah, that's why we need to go back to casting villains and non-super fans like we were talking about. People who are willing to just blow stuff up.
Yeah, I want to see some people who don't care at all.
Yeah. I mean, even people like Donathan in Ghost Island, who was just dropping truth bombs, he was a fan, but, he just got to the point where he had nothing to lose because Dom and Wendell were playing such a good game. He was just like, whatever. And at least that made it more interesting.
And maybe we will see that. Someone has nothing to lose. Maybe Janine continues to get beaten down, and she just finally
Yeah.
snaps. So
Janine snapping, that would be interesting. Yeah, I'd
the
love to
straw
see
that broke the
that.
camel's back.
Yeah, Janine's villain arc, I'd love to see it. But let's talk
Okay.
about after the challenge, they go to the well, and of course, production knows that this is going to happen. There's going to be multiple people seeing
Yeah,
it.
they know there's going to be
Yeah,
multiple people seeing it,
yeah,
which
which is kind of like them
it
just
it
like,
it
no.
defeats the whole purpose of it. It's
Yeah.
knowledge is the whole. It's literally called knowledge is power, and you're having a bunch of people with knowledge that completely negates the power. So because
Yeah,
you see everyone knows about it now, so everyone just hands someone else their idol, and now it's like it's worthless. It's not going to happen,
yeah,
and it just
production
it
must
just
have wanted, they must have wanted the idol shuffling thing to happen. And maybe they wanted Dwight to go home with Janine's idol, I don't know. Or maybe that's just a weird coincidence, but yeah, they're just forcing a new element of gameplay that the players have to work with. And we are already talking about how it could be so confusing with all these advantages bouncing around, trying to keep track of who has what at what time. Now we have to keep track of who they passed it to.
yeah,
And
they're
in
just
future
bouncing around even
episodes,
more.
yeah, there could be even more swapping in future episodes because, like you said, this advantage is still in play. It has not been defeated yet. And so I'm
Hmm.
interested to see, how James tries to attack this situation because he's obviously he must be aware that people are passing advantages around because he did tell people that he got the knowledge is power, which I'm not
Yeah,
sure was the best idea. But people might have done
I
this
think
anyway.
everyone just would have known about it already because I mean,
Yeah.
like multiple people found it. I think just in the nature of New School Survivor, everything just gets out. I think everyone would have known about it already. Um, so I think James, I really just think he wants as since it's like extinguish this fire of a target as fast as he can.
hmm And he did it successfully. I mean, he wasn't the vote tonight.
So far, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hopefully that doesn't bite him because I love James and I think he's playing a great game. And for him to just be screwed like this if he gets voted out would be a major flaw in production in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it brought me back to Island of the Idols with Jamal. It was just so weird the way he was walking down that path with Karishma. There's this thing hanging over his head. He grabs it, and then it tells him that he already lost his vote and he's got to go to the islands to try to win this advantage that doesn't even end up helping him at all. It just goes to Dean. So,
Hmm.
production's just throwing too many things out there. It's something we've seen them do in the past in Modern Survivor, but hopefully, like we said, this season it seems like for the most part they've been listening to the fans. So if they continue to listen to us, I think this shouldn't be too much of a problem moving forward. I think the knowledge is power is just in the grave now. I think after this season, there's no way that they're going to keep this going.
Yeah, well, God forbid James uses it successfully because then production's gonna be like, "Ooh, it
Uh,
works. We got to bring this back. Get some more moments." So as much as I would like to see it work, and I want to see it work because it's in the game. So if it's gonna be in the game, you might as well have a great moment come from it.
yeah,
But
and I mean, I'm rooting for James, but I'm also rooting for Cody and Carla, who have idols right now. And I don't
yep,
think anybody else. I think those are the only two idols that are in the game right now, right? Cody and Carla.
since Janine's is gone, yeah, I'm pretty sure,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't even
Yeah.
know about Carla's. So
Which is still so weird to me. I mean, people know about the beads from both the other camps. How are they not putting this together? I just don't get it.
it's I'm starting to think that maybe they do know and they're just not showing us for whatever reason. I don't know why they would do that,
That could be true.
but I just would have to think. I mean, you're all talking around camp, and
Yeah,
people already know about the beads, so they know that there's going to be another one on the Cocoa Beach.
exactly. I mean, like with
So
the phrases in 41 and 42, everybody just completely knew what was going on by the merge. So I'm shocked that it wouldn't be the case with this. But I think, like you said, it could be, and we just haven't seen it yet. They could be saving that for maybe next episode or the episode after that. Carla gets into some drama and they need to highlight that in the edit a bit. But they're just not showing it to us yet.
yeah, So back to tribal council. I thought it was really funny when James was like covering his eyes with his buff. I thought that was great. I mean that
Yeah.
sounds exactly like what I would do. I would, cause like I said, I'd just be so nervous, like my heart would be
Mhm.
pumping. I wouldn't even be able to look at the votes.
Yeah, I was worried for him when Jeff said, does anyone have an idol or advantage you want to play? Now would be the time to do so. And it took a few seconds. I really thought that he might be getting ready to stand up to play that. And I don't want to say I was surprised he didn't, but I was kind of thinking he might.
Well, I mean, I just think like I feel like he knew that the idols were going to be shuffled around.
Yeah.
So he knew it wasn't going to work.
I thought he might just guess and honestly even get it right. It was just a guess.
And
Like,
honestly,
hey,
that might
Dwight,
have
you
not
got
even
anything?
been, yeah, that might not even been the worst thing because if he gets it wrong, then it's done, right? And no more target. But
Exactly, yeah.
on the other hand, if you do ask someone, you're kind of calling them out, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not working with you because I want to steal your advantage. So,
But yeah, like we said, or like we saw James say at Tribal, this game is about getting a group of people who you can trust, and when they tell you a plan, you actually believe it. So he must have gotten some kind of confirmation to the point where he was comfortable enough not to play the advantage. And James, as we've seen so far, I think in almost every episode, he's good at just getting a solid plan with a solid group of people and sticking with it.
and James, yep, he's been looking great. Obviously, a little overshadowed by Carla, but I think James, great mind for the game, and I think he's also, I mean, great social player too. I think he's really got all the tools, honestly.
Yeah, just another reason why it would be such a shame if he got out because of production.
Yeah, and I don't even want to think about that. So, um, preview for next episode. Obviously, we saw Sammy with the setting himself up to win this game. What do you think we're gonna get moving forward next week from Survivor?
Did we see? I don't totally remember the preview. Did we see like the Baka members talking about a potential uprising? I think.
I think that sounds familiar. I have it right here, but it's not.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in
Yeah,
hearing what.
Owen said we can start an uprising. And then you see Janine and Cassidy saying we can rock the boat. So
hmm Yeah, so I think Janine is definitely going to try to shift the dynamics because obviously the current dynamics have not been working out for her. Sammy, I think, is down for everything. I think he's just kind of saying yes to things at this point. Owen, I'm not sure where he's going to go because he obviously still has a connection with Sammy. So I'm not sure exactly how he feels about this vote that just went down. Um, he obviously will still try to work with Janine. She obviously thinks that he's with her because of the way he voted Ryan, and same with the other Bakas. But I mean, I'm really not sure. Maybe he was blindsided. I don't know. But I think that he was just doing a backup vote in case Dwight played the idol. But either way,
that's really what I thought it was.
yeah. But either way, Janine thinks that he's with them, so that's what matters. And then I think, yeah, Cassidy being with Janine, that would be interesting. I'd like to see that as a duo start to come about. Jesse, I'm a little worried for him. Like I said, he's got a really good edit so far. He's played a really good game so far, but he could kind of get caught like a War Dog situation for just voting out Kelly too early. I think Jesse might have done a little bit of the same thing here, but we'll see. Maybe he can maneuver his way out of that. And then Carla, I hope she keeps her idol secret, but I don't think it's really secret anymore, so we'll see how that goes. But she's still playing a great social game. And then there's Gabler, who he's kind of all over the place, but he had a really good
He's in the
episode.
water right now.
Yeah.
He's waiting.
Yeah, he's going da 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 da.
Yeah. But back to Jesse. The reason I'm not too worried about Jesse is going back to the agency thing with Cody. I think if anyone really goes down for this vote, I think it would be Cody. I think they'll
Yeah, I mean,
just
it
see
was
it as his
Cody's
move.
idea. It was
Yeah.
Cody's idea.
And even based on the edit, I think, because Jesse was the one explaining it, obviously at that confessional about agency, I think if anyone goes down, it's going to be Cody. As much as I love Cody, this might be his downfall.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really think about that much before, but I do agree with you. And obviously, I love Cody too, but yeah, I just don't think this was the right move. I think if anything, he should. I don't even want to say that he should have just voted Noel out and done what Jesse wanted, because I'm not sure that that would have been a great move either. But at least Jesse would have taken more heat for that compared to Cody. But we'll see.
Definitely. And we will see. We will be back next week to recap the 8th episode of Survivor 43. Darren, it's a great time. Looking forward to chatting with you next week.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go, if you had to pick one winner right now, who would you pick?
If I had to pick one winner, I would go
Yeah,
Owen.
I'm gonna go with Sammy.
Okay. And wow, look at that. Two people who seem to be aligned together. Maybe we get a Don Wendell. You never know.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe not the most interesting, but cool for sure.
But yeah, thank you for joining me, Tanner. Great talking as always.
Thanks
And
for having me.
looking forward to next week.
Yeah, me too.